This question asks, the new email specialist at Benson's Widgets is responsible for all email campaigns that the team designs. What best practice should they implement to provide Benson's Widgets customers with the best email experience? Now, occasionally, especially when working in best practices, you will get questions about user experiences and, of course, the best practices for designing and developing the content that is going out the door. So in this case, what the real question is what are the best practices we should use to make sure that the customers who receive the email get the best experience? Now, this isn't kind of a soft science sort of thing, but if we start to look at the different answers, hopefully we can start to easily eliminate those that may work or may definitely not work. Let's take a look at the first possible answer and see what we have here. The first answer is design and thoroughly test mobile responsive emails. So the question we might have to ask ourselves is, what is a mobile responsive email and how do I design it in Marketing Cloud? Let me show you how that works. As you may be aware, within Marketing Cloud, there's a tool called Content Builder. And Content Builder is where we can go to build emails and other ways of communicating with our recipients. And in Content Builder, if I want to create a new email message, if I go to the Create button in the upper right-hand corner, I can create a message. I can also create a new template if I want to design new emails. I can create different types of elements for my emails. I can create things like SMS messages and mobile apps and even chat messages if I want to do that as well. It's a very robust tool, but if we were looking to create an email message, one of the things that is available to us is if I look over here where it says, do you want to create an email? It gives me an opportunity of using a template. Now, this template can be a template that I've created that I want to use, but it can also be a template that is built into Marketing Cloud. And I have a series of templates that are ready-made that I can draw from, including some fairly basic templates. I have some even more old school, very, very basic templates. I have some that are a little bit more modernized and very focused on different types of communications themes for different emails. And of course, if I have any emails that I've created, they would be under the Save tab here. And if I go to a basic email, let's say I want to be able to use this as the foundation for my email, I can select it. We'll call it Test. And then if I go in here, this is what the template would look like. Of course, I would add my own elements in here. But if I wanted to get a sense of what this would look like on a mobile device while I'm building it, up here in the upper right-hand corner, I have a toggle that allows me to choose between desktop view and mobile view. And so by doing this, I can see while I'm building my email if it is mobily responsive. And all of these templates are designed to be fully mobily responsive. So if you're using any of the templates, it's an easy enough process to make sure that this is going to happen. So that first answer is not a bad option. Let's take a look at the second answer. Now, the second answer says always use large, high-quality images. It sounds like a best practice, but let's explore what the reality is, again, in Content Builder. Now, when building an email, I may have a location within the email where I can put an image. And if I had an image that I had imported into Marketing Cloud, and let's say my image was 1 megabyte in size, that was the size of the file that I brought in. When I use that here in my email, it is going to still be 1 megabyte in size. If I were to come in here and squash it down to fit into a smaller space, the image itself will be smaller, but the data size of that image will always remain at 1 megabyte. And this means if I'm working with someone who's providing me with imagery, we need to make sure that they're doing their best to crunch those down so they're as small as possible from a data standpoint while still preserving as much of the good look that we want in our images. The reality is if somebody sends me a 5 megabyte image and I put it into my email is automatically going to be at least 5 megabytes in size. And you can imagine as you send that to somebody else, that's going to take a longer time to download into their inbox, and that's not going to be the best practice in that scenario. So while we want the images to be good, we don't want the images to be big. So large, high quality images sounds good, but it's not going to work for what we need. Let's take a look at the next answer. Now this says use image-only emails to avoid problems like font substitution when viewed on different email clients. Again, it sounds like a potential best practice, but one of the challenges here is the term image-only emails. What we're basically saying is that we want to create an email that is really one large picture. Now, what would be the problem with that? Well, once again, one of the biggest issues is that the size of the email is going to be expanded because unlike an email that has text, which doesn't take up a lot of space from a data standpoint, the full image element is going to be a larger file overall. So that's one thing to consider. Now, in the United States, there's a best practice that's driven by the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that means there are people in the world who have a hard time through more traditional means and may use a screen reader or some other methodology. So being able to use a screen reader to be able to read the emails would be a great solution for them, and it would not work if our email were entirely based upon being a single image. So that's one thing to consider. The second, or maybe the third thing to consider here, is that from a best practices standpoint, if I send a full image email out the door, the ISPs, the internet service providers who receive and then redeliver that message to their clients, their recipients, often will look at anything that is a large full picture email and consider it automatically to be a spam message. And we don't want that to happen with ours. So best practice is absolutely not using image-only emails ever. It's not a good thing for us to be able to do. So in order to answer this question and get it correct here, the correct answer is design and thoroughly test mobile responsive emails. In this scenario, the tools that are built into Marketing Cloud can help you to make sure that whatever is being provided to the recipient is going to be the best solution possible.